Hello and welcome to another edition of Fantasy NBA Tonight on Hoopball. I'm your host, Santino Cacone, and I'm here with my man, Will. How you doing tonight, Will?
Doing great. Excited about this show. Can't wait to get started. How you guys doing?
Doing well. And I don't know if anybody's familiar, but we have a special guest here tonight. He hasn't done Thursday in quite some time. You might be familiar with him from Saturday Night Lyle. It's Lyle. How you doing tonight, Lyle?
Good, yeah, no, very excited to be here. It's a bit of Throwback Thursday. This is where I actually, it actually worked right. This is where I did my first ever hoopball show. Was the Thursday night with Josh Millman and Suryo. So yeah, it's nice to be back. Bit of nostalgia for you Thursday evening.
Awesome,
good to have you.
Yeah. So lately we've been doing drafts of recent drafts, redrafting recent drafts. We've picked either by the best player available at the time, the team need, or et cetera of both. Or if you were like Will, you just pick people who weren't supposed to get picked. And I'm just kidding, Will. But we thought we could switch it up tonight and try something different. So tonight we're going to come at you with three different franchises. Myself, I have the Suns. Will has the Milwaukee Bucks. And Lyle has the Chicago Bulls. And we're going to try and pick the best starting five and two bench players. So top seven of the team on each team throughout their history. So what we're trying to do is try and get the all-time best starting lineups and two of these intrigue bench guys. Some of us might go for who is the most talented and put up the biggest numbers. Others might go for who would make the most effective team, starting five with their two bench players, which mix in, or a mix of both, whatever it may be. But each of us will have our own team, and we'll break it down position by position and pick by pick. And then after, we'll kind of toss around what we think, where we think the other guys went wrong, what they did right, and the obviouses. So we're going to start off here with Will. Will, you have the Milwaukee Bucks. Let's start it off with a really good team right here. They have quite a few Hall of Famers and some of the best of all time. So Will, take it from here.
Yes. So would you guys like to do, because we're doing the five best players and then a sixth man and seventh man. I'm gonna start with the sixth man and seventh man first.
Okay.
And I guess we'll narrow it down to number one. So it was really tough to come up with the sixth and seventh man for this team, because once you do the top five, like 6 through 10, they're all kind of interchangeable. You know, really good players, put up really good points, good stats, good, accomplishments for these guys. So I'm going to go with, for number 7, I'm going to go with Big Dog Glenn Robinson.
Okay.
A lot of people, when you think of the Bucks, you do think of Big Dog, but they've had a bunch of talented players on their team. Glenn Robinson averages with the Bucks 21 points a game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists. He was there from 95 to 02, led the team to the Eastern Conference Finals. Just a major force for the team. He was the first pick in the draft, so he had a pretty good career. Most people thought it would be even better, but he definitely deserves to be in the top 7, I believe, for the Milwaukee Bucks. Okay.
Highest usage ever in Bucks history.
Yep.
Something interesting.
Yep. Now his son is in the league doing pretty good things.
Yeah.
Won't live up to his dad exactly, but it's still an accomplishment in itself. You got any comments on Big Dog, Lyle?
No, I think that's a great pick. Yeah, how hard is it to actually fit people in when that's your seventh man? You're sitting there going,
yeah. I think we're gonna have to see who else is there before we say you missed someone.
Right. My next guy, statistically, he deserves to be in here, but honestly, he was before my time. I was born in 1984. His last year with the Bucks was 1984. But Marcus Johnson, he averaged 21 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists for the Bucks. Had a really good career for those. He was fourth in top 5 in the franchise in points. He's a 3-time All-Star. Just put up really good numbers for the team, back before, the era we probably grew up in. But I think he deserves to be on the list. Marcus Johnson. Either of you guys heard of him?
You went with 2 wings already. Interesting.
Well, it's my sixth and seventh man, but yeah.
No backup bigs off the bench already. You're
No,
embracing the new 2020 small ball lineup.
Yeah, small ball. Big dog can do it all, so it's okay. All right, for my top 5, drum roll. I'm gonna start with a lesser known name, but very important player to the team, Sidney Moncrief. Once again, kind of before our time, but he was with the Bucks from 1980 to 1989. He was one of the best in the league at that time. Even Michael Jordan would say, he gave him problems back in those times. He led the team to multiple Eastern Conference Finals appearances, and he won Defensive Player of the Year with the Bucks, averaging 17 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. So it's pretty hard to argue with those stats and those accomplishments he had.
Yeah. He won multiple Defensive Player of the Year awards. When you get to the rest of the starting lineup, you're going to have some offensive studs, so that'll fit right in there.
Exactly. So next, I'll go with the guy we all know and love. I think he had his best tenure with this team. Wish he could have stayed longer. Ray Allen. Jesus Shuttlesworth. He averaged 20 points a game, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, Ray Allen will fit great on any team. He's just a perfect player. I mean, especially in today's game, he averaged 24 and 4 back then. But if he played now in his prime, oh my God, like I can't even imagine. Like he would be like Klay Thompson, but just more offensive minded, I believe. He was with the team from 97 to 03, holds all the 3-point records. I mean, when you think of the Bucks, you also think of Ray Allen. I just wish he wouldn't have got traded. Yeah. But he went on to win rings with other teams. So
I love Ray Allen, former UConn player. I'm a UConn alum. I'll always have it for him. He lives in Connecticut. I live in Connecticut. I mean, just right there, I love him. But that shot, his jump shot, Jesus Shuttlesworth, obviously, but his jump shot is the most pure shot I've ever seen. It's just perfect every time. There's never anything he does wrong with that shot. I mean, that's an obvious pick right there for anybody, especially in today's day and age where you need the people to stretch the floor. This guy has the most beautiful jump shot the game's ever seen.
Oh, that's what you want to teach your kids. Like, if you're going to get your kids into basketball, you just watch 100 hours of Ray Allen shooting jumpers. That's what you need to do. I mean, that shot to end the – who was that? That was against the Spurs, wasn't it? To bring it back. Game 7, that was a Game 6 shot to get there. Oh, unbelievable. I mean, I saw a clip of him the other day watching it with his kids, and his kid says, "You made that." And it's like, what do you mean? Ray Allen. Yeah, unbelievable. He was actually going to come to Perth before all of this, the lockdown. So there were, I was tossing up whether or not to get tickets. I probably should have. Now I look back, if it's postponed and they're still selling them, I'm going to go and see him because benefit of hindsight. But he was going to come and do a coaching clinic over here. And I was like, well, some old bloke going, toss the ball at the ring. But still would have locked in me and all the under 14s.
I think if he wanted to today, he could still get buckets because that jump shot will never fade away.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm surprised no one has picked him up as a coach in the NBA or college. I mean, with the way the game is played now, I would love for him to be a coach on my team. But
good call.
He's doing other things. Have you guys seen him during the quarantine with his hair?
No, I haven't.
He's growing it out, isn't he?
Don't Google that. Don't Google that. It'll ruin your whole image of Ray Allen. Next, I got kind of a surprise pick, maybe. We'll see. But I think he's been there long enough doing amazing things. He's got to be on the list. Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously.
You said surprise. I didn't know you meant that. That's an easy one right there.
Okay. I wasn't sure because he's been there 7 years, since 2013. His career stats are 20 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. But obviously in the last 2 or 3 years, he's been coming into his own. This year he's averaging 30 points a game. So 4-time All-Star, obviously MVP of the league. Could have possibly been MVP this year. Probably would have been leading the team to the, deep into the playoffs every year. This year, number 1 record in the league. So I would have been excited to see how far they got this year, but he is now the current face of the Bucks. Probably been the best player for the Bucks since Ray Allen. So yeah. I had to have him. Top 5.
I mean, these last couple are pretty easy for you.
Yeah. I thought about making it a little more difficult, but I said Santino's gonna get me, so I have to add Oscar Robertson. But a slight part of me was thinking, don't add Oscar.
We're gonna add the big O.
Listen,
yeah, I would have definitely got you if you did.
I know you would have.
Oscar Robertson to an all-time Bucks team.
Right. I thought about, for the Bucks, okay, his numbers are not what we remember. Like, we think, triple-double, king, statistical genius, Oscar Robertson. But with the Bucks, he only averages 16, 5, and 8 a game. So, but he led them to a championship with Kareem. So that puts him over the top. But, yeah, he was only with the Bucks from 71 to 74. I was surprised to see that myself. I thought he was there for 10 years. But he got most of his points, with San Diego Clippers and stats like that.
It happened at the end of his career, but, you still got to add him there.
You have to because of the championship. But if he wouldn't have got that championship, he wouldn't have been on the list.
But you're right, because now you're disrespecting Charlie Villanueva and company. but
where's Middleton? Where is he?
Yeah, where's Middleton?
Right, yeah. Hey, Middleton could be, top 15 in a few years, maybe.
Sure.
Yeah, he has a chance. He has a chance to make this one.
Any thoughts on the big O, Lyle?
Oh, I'm glad he's in there. There would have been an uproar.
It would have been. It would have been.
Yeah, one of the original superstars, I guess.
Yeah. I was really surprised he was only there for that short a time, though. And that goes on to my next guy, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Had to be number 1, obviously. Like, his stats are far beyond any other player. Giannis is starting to match him, but he averaged 30.5 points a game, 15 rebounds, 4 assists. Blocks galore. They was before they even counted some of his blocks. He had so many blocks. So one of the greatest centers of all time. Somebody tell me why the Bucks traded him to the Lakers. I have no idea. But he was only with the Bucks from 1970 to 1975. But he also was with the team with Oscar Robertson that won their only championship in 1971. So, but even without that championship, obvious lock to be the number 1 player in the Bucks franchise. I just wish they wouldn't have ever traded him. It would have been amazing to watch.
I'm 100% satisfied with the trade. We needed
of course,
that for
Santino, the Lakers fan, Santino.
We needed that for basketball and just the overall good of humanity to go to the Lakers.
Right. But it worked out well for you.
Kareem, even in that amount of time, he still leads pretty much every statistical per game average on the Bucks. Just out of curiosity, who were the players that you had that just missed the cut? Who was 8, 9, 10? Who are some noteworthy players out there that you want to give a shout out to, but just didn't make the cut?
Well, I got a couple. Terry Cummins, people may not remember him, but he was with the team from 85 to 89, averaged around 20 points a game, good scorer, 2-time All-Star with them. Michael Redd, really good player. He was like Chris Middleton before Chris Middleton, and he was the only guy with the Bucks putting in numbers. Like, his potential was All-Star all the time. I think he had 1 All-Star with them, but injuries derailed
him on the team. When you said this is going to be a surprise, I thought you were going to say Michael Redd, and then you said Giannis.
He's another one of those players that if he was in today's game would be even better than he was then.
Yeah.
You think of Vin Baker. I think of him as potential. It could have been better, but he averaged 18 and 9. I think he could have been a 25 and 10 guy if he would have, really went for it. He's kind of like, work ethic, But and Sam Cassell had a good career with the Bucks. Short term, 19-4-7, took the team to the finals. So those are a couple guys. It was fun doing research on them, learning more about going back in history, looking at guys that played for the team and remembering those years and everything. So when you think of the Bucks, you think, this is the Bucks. They're not that exciting. But when you go back and look at their all-time players, it's really entertaining and exciting to think about it.
Yeah. One thing I will say is you don't have any backup big men. You have Kareem and Giannis, but
who else do you need?
Yeah.
Look,
what if they
position?
What if something happens? What if they get
positionless basketball? Positionless basketball. We're going with the
Oscar
best.
Robinson going to shift out all the way to center like Magic?
Best. We drafted for best player available, not size, not position.
So I mean, that team's obviously going to be much better than the team I have coming up next. But where's the depth?
Big dog got it.
Lyle,
but in history of the NBA, I don't think it's too many franchises that go deep with center besides your Lakers, So
yeah, and the Rockets probably.
Yeah, Rockets.
Yeah. So Lyle, any thoughts on Will's picks for the Bucks?
I thought it was pretty good. Snub to like Brook Lopez, Chris Middleton. Otherwise, I thought that was really good. There wouldn't have been anyone. I agree. Michael Redd's probably sitting right on the edge there. But I mean, where are you going to play him? You're not going to play him over the Big O. I guess that's the only spot he'd probably slide in, or Giannis, and you're not going to play him over either of those. So I thought it was spot on. Awesome. Yeah.
I mean, Ray Allen, Giannis, Oscar, Kareem are guaranteed. Moncrief fits that five really well. If you're going to switch anybody out, it'd be the two bench players, Robinson and Johnson. But I mean, it goes so deep that you like you said, Will, it's pretty much a toss up at that point, and I like it. I like it as well.
They're all sitting on the roster.
Yeah.
Great exercise.
And we forgot to mention we're doing a coach as well. Who would you throw to coach this team? Which of the Milwaukee Bucks greatest do you have coaching this team? It could be personal preference. It could be who was the best coach, or it could be who might fit this team best, who might fit this no bench big best, this run and gun style offense.
Didn't they have George Karl for a few years?
I think George Karl was a lot of places.
Right?
Probably.
Yeah, I'm going to go with George Karl, especially for this day and age. I can't think of a better coach for them right there.
It's a good call. Yeah. All right.
Yeah,
so one of the I feel like he's still at the top of the all-time wins list unless Pop just beat him, or am I correct with that? I think Pop might have just passed him.
Just recently, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So that looks like it does it for the Bucks. Pretty rock solid all-star. Quite a few Hall of Famers in there, and Giannis looks like he's on that trajectory as well. So now
George Karl was there from 98 to 03, so that's when they were doing a lot of playoff wins then. I definitely think he deserves that spot.
Yeah. So now we're going to take a shift onto a team that's not as great, but still pretty good. In the Phoenix Suns, that's where I come in. I don't know why I picked the Suns. I was just talking about them and said, yeah, I'll take them. Weirdly, I've done a lot of Suns things this offseason. In our hoop ball articles that we're writing for season so far, I have the Suns. I've done a couple podcasts on the Suns. I don't know what it is. I'm not a Suns fan. I don't really like them, but I'm in on the Suns for some reason. They have quite a few notable players out there that I'm going to mention that missed the list. Clifford Robinson, pretty good career. He played for 4 years there. Gordon Dragic had 2 different stints. One was a lot better than the other, but he was pretty good there. Charlie Scott played 3 years, and he was an all-star all 3 seasons. He averaged for his career. He averaged them in those 3 seasons. He averaged the most Phoenix Suns points per games in the career. But I didn't pick him. Mark West was a pretty good center. We might be familiar with Raja Bell. I don't know if you guys remember. I do.
Clothesline on Kobe.
Yep, that's why I remember him. Those battles with Kobe when the Suns couldn't beat the Lakers ever in those big battles. Alvin Adams, another big man who's a really good defender. And then it gets a little closer, but Joe Johnson's another guy. He had his best seasons in Atlanta, but he was pretty good for the Suns. Shaq had a pretty 18-9, 1.5 seasons in the desert. I was going to go with him just because his career, but I said, no, I'll stick with this. A guy that I was very close and was a very good winner, got to one of their only finals appearances in Paul Westphal. I left him off the list, but he might make it as a coach. I don't know. We'll see. Walter Davis, another shooting guard. And then the last couple spots I'll leave open for debate. I'll mention them soon. But let's start I'll start with my starting five and then the bench players. I'll do it a little different from Will. At point guard, it's more climatic because now you got to fight for those last couple spots. Sure. But at point guard, this is the no-brainer of no-brainers. And Steve Nash, 2-time MVP, back-to-back MVP, pretty much led the league in assists every year he was walking in Mike D'Antoni's system. He's just that guy. I can't pick. They had quite a few point guards, which I'll get to in a moment, that were very, very good. But Steve Nash is easily the best of them, and he's in the Hall of Fame because of it. Any debate on the Nash train?
No. He was the reason I started following the NBA.
Oh, wow.
Came in like 2008, 2007, 2008. We didn't get it very much in Australia at all, and then it was starting to get aired, and that was right in the peak, Steve Nash era. Oh, phenomenal. Just this long-haired white guy just running around, throwing passes that no one could make. Yeah, unbelievable. Great pick.
I mean, I would have thought you would have picked Isaiah Thomas, but I'll let it slide.
Nash is like you, Lyle. Nash was my favorite non-Laker. It was Kobe, and then Steve Nash was the second favorite guy. His court vision was just unparalleled, and it still may be unparalleled. The passes he makes and was able to make was just insanity. But yeah, I think he was a no-brainer there. I'm sorry, Will.
I think it's crazy. Like during that time when he was playing too, it was so physical, and he could just go anywhere he wanted, weaving in and out of the lane. I don't know how he didn't get knocked on his butt, but so many times. But he just made those guys look silly out there. Yeah,
and he was tiny. He wasn't a great defender. That's the one knock on him, but he's in the top 5 for 3-point field goal percentage. He was a sniper, and he's one of the only people in his career who averaged in the 50, 40, 90 club in his career. Just phenomenal guy on offense. Defense, maybe not so much, but offense, definitely. So I'm going to skip shooting guard because that's the climax of. That's where it gets interesting for me. The biggest decision I had to make was at shooting guard and the number 7 spot. So I'm going to skip that and then go with those two last. Small forward, got to go with a guy who played with Steve Nash in The Matrix. This guy is those teams were fantastic, and this guy's one of the best defenders that played in the Phoenix Suns system. He's ranks first in value over replacement player. He's top in win shares. He's top in plus minus. He's in the top 10 in pretty much most categories for Suns all time. Blocks, steals. This guy did it all on the court. In fantasy, he was just a stud. I don't know if you guys remember him, but anybody who can get steals and blocks at that rate with the offensive game that he has, his shot was terrible. I always think one of the ugliest shots I've ever seen, but he wasn't bad with it. It wasn't so bad to yeah, I guess they say if don't fix what's not broken, the shot was broken, but the results always weren't. He wasn't the greatest 3-point shooter, and it's something that this team that I'm making is going to struggle with besides Steve Nash, but Sean Marion was definitely a versatile forward. He can play the 3 or the 4 for me.
Great defender. Yep.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm surprised he's in the top 5. Unless you do your research on the Suns, you just automatically think, oh, they probably had some legends back then, small forward better than Sean Marion. But I'm surprised he was that good for the franchise and they didn't have anyone better than him. But
yeah, well, for his 9 seasons in Phoenix, he averaged 18 points, 10 boards, 2 assists, 2 steals, a block and a half, 82% from the free throw line and 48% from the field, 34% from 3, which if anybody shoots like that, it's I don't know how he does it, but he did it. And I mean, when you have Steve Nash setting you up, it's pretty good. But yeah, he was fantastic. I think Will, you don't know if you like that pick.
No, I'm just surprised they don't have legends that we may have never heard of. We were too young to watch that had better stats. I'm surprised it's Sean Marion, but
the best teams of this were probably the D'Antoni teams, and whether Paul Westphal was playing or coaching, those were the best teams we had. Because next at power forward was when Westphal was the coach. This is also a no-brainer. Won the MVP in Phoenix, another guy, Hall of Famer, 11-time All-Star, 11-time NBA, All-NBA player. The little engine that could. He played small forward and power forward. 6'6", 252. We might know him from the desk right now when he's making him and Draymond Green are going making jokes at each other. But Charles Barkley, a guy who, when we talk about some of the all-time greats, we tend to forget how actually awesome that this guy was. He never won a championship. He got to the finals one time, and they lost to who Lyle will be talking about later, the Bulls in '93. But that was the season he won the MVP. But he had some of his best years in Phoenix. He averaged the most his career points per game in Phoenix was just slightly above his time in Philly. He averaged 23.4 points for Phoenix, 11.5 rebounds, 4.4 assists, 1.6 steals, and nearly a block a game. Shot over 500 from the field, 300 from three-point line. Again, this team is going to struggle from 3, but Charles Barkley did it all. We forget how good this guy was, and he was just only 6'6". And the picture that you get from him now is just the out-of-shape Charles Barkley. But in his prime, that man he could fly. He actually could run. He was thin, believe it or not.
Yeah, I mean, that's a no-brainer. I would say it's debatable if he's the greatest player in their franchise ever, him or Nash, I guess. So
yeah, it's one of those two. Yeah. Nash got the 2 MVPs, so maybe him, but yeah, it's one of those two.
Barkley had the success with the championship appearance.
Yeah.
When he got that hit of steam, you couldn't stop him.
Yeah, he was just like a bull.
Yeah, just loved it. Absolutely. Yeah, no, good pick.
And for my center option, there's quite a few centers to choose from. But again, I got to stick with the D'Antoni team. Amare Stoudemire here. And
okay, good.
The stat, because his stats were awesome when he was in the lineup. His 8 seasons in Phoenix, he averaged over 21 points, 9 rebounds, a couple assists, a steal, a block and a half. He shot 54% from the field. This guy, 76 from the free throw line. We know what this guy was. He was just a freak, and him and Steve Nash were great together. Won a ton of games. Unfortunately, they couldn't pass the Lakers. They couldn't pass the Spurs. I say that with a smile on my face a little bit. But yeah, he was just a stud when he was healthy in Phoenix. They have a couple solid guys that we could throw at center, but no one of the freak athleticism caliber that Amare was, or stat, as Lyle said. So he's got to be my pick for center. I think you like that one. Was that, am I right on that one?
Yeah, when you were going by positions and you put Barkley at the 4, I was just like, I don't know if you should go by positions. You're gonna leave Amare Stoudemire off the list. So I'm glad he made your list.
Yeah, he's
I love
6'10".
watching him play.
He could play He played both, but in today's day and age, he can play center.
Oh yeah. What you think, Lyle? What you think about that?
So good. Like, stat for me, that was the exact team that Nash, Joe Johnson. Well, I mean, spoilers. Matrix, Steve Nash, Stoudemire, and at the 7 seconds or less, it was the reason that I got into it. I was like, this is so exciting. Look how fast they go. Shoot so many threes. Little did we know it was just foreshadowing. Is what that's happening now.
And the Brazilian Blur and Barbosa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, Barbosa.
Just like you said, it's funny because this happened. This was over a decade ago, and we were like, "Oh my God, 7 seconds or less! This is crazy. This is changing the game." And then after the whole D'Antoni went to the Lakers, and it didn't quite work out with that super dud team.
With Steve Nash too.
Yeah, when Steve Nash was hurt,
Steve Nash
was whatever.
got the game back together.
Yeah, when it didn't work out, we kind of pushed this style of play to the back burner until the Warriors came out and just dominated with it again. But it was ahead of its time. And if they were here playing now, the numbers that they put up in a more defensive-oriented, slower-paced game, I want to know what they would be able to put up in this day and age, because they were ready for this style of system already. But it's crazy. Yeah. So I will skip shooting guard, like I said. I will go to my sixth man, and this was also a very hard pick for me. I'm going back to this is the sixth man. He's coming off the bench. I will go back to who I'm putting at my other wing position, and then my seventh man. But this was one of the hardest decisions for me because in the top 7 talents on this team would have 3-point guards. Right. But I don't want to have 3-point guards on my team right now. In 7 positions, I don't need 3-point guards, especially when only one of them could really shoot the 3. This second guy could shoot it pretty well, but the third guy can't. And the guy I'm leaving off, one of the guys I didn't mention before, is Jason Kidd. Sorry, Kidd. He's going to be one of the best guys to play on this franchise. He's in the top in a lot of different things. When he played for the Suns, his numbers were not Brooklyn-like or New Jersey-like, and they weren't what you'd expect, but he averaged 14.6 points, or 14.4 points in 5 seasons, 9.7 assists. He led the league in assists 2-3 times when he was in Phoenix. He had 2 steals. He shot pretty much like he shot on par is around. It was his best field goal percentage of his career at .419, which says something. But I needed someone else who could shoot, and 3 of their top 7 players were point guards. So I had to leave Jason Kidd off this and take Kevin Johnson. Kevin Johnson, we might know him now for his mayoral stuff in California and Sacramento. But Kevin Johnson was a stud when he was in Phoenix, which was pretty much his entire career. He averaged in his 12 seasons nearly 19 points, 9.5 assists, a steal and a half a game. Didn't shoot great from 3 as well, but he shot 500 from the field, and he led this team. He got this. He was in the finals once with Charles Barkley when they were really good. He double-digit assists 4 straight years in a row. Really good career, and he's in the top of a lot of leaderboards for the Suns. So I had to take him over Jason Kidd. It was a hard call for me.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really interested to see who your shooting guard is. I would have stuck him at the shooting guard. I mean, he was so great for the Suns and so exciting to watch with Charles Barkley. I mean, I remember him just – I don't know how tall he was. He looked under 6 feet, just dunking on guys back in the day, dunking on centers. So, I mean, he was definitely a floor general. And him and Barkley is what I remember from the old Suns.
Yeah, they have him listed at 6'1", but the listings are always sometimes screwed. With
skewed. Big shoes on, he said.
Yeah. But he was awesome for them. And I had to leave Jason Kidd off. It was a tough call. Lyle, any thoughts on Kevin Johnson?
No, gun. No, very happy with that selection. Jason Kidd falling off. Well, I mean, what can you do? Suns have tried 3-point guards before. They tried it. It didn't work. So, you you made a good idea, with the Dragic, Bledsoe, IT sort of 3-headed dragon, they were calling it, or whatever it was. It failed. I don't think it would have worked with the 3 guys there either. So, yeah, good selection. Very impressed.
And neither Johnson or Kidd is great from 3-point range. I don't know how that'd fit a shooting guard next to a Nash who's going to get you open looks. Can't knock him down. Well, what good is it? But one of them has to make it. pure talent alone. So my seventh man, I almost kind of did what Will did, but I said, no, I need to have a backup big. You never know. So I went with a guy who is also a really good guy on this franchise. Three-time all defensive team, three-time All-Star. You might know him from his son who's playing in the league now. But this guy won the first ever dunk contest, shot over 56% from the field in Phoenix, 17 points, 8 boards, 2 blocks over a steal, couple assists a game. I went with Larry Nance, Sr., as my backup big man. I needed someone who was tall enough to play center in today's game, but versatile enough to play power forward as well in this game. So I stuck with Larry Nance over some pretty good players out there.
What did he average in Phoenix?
I just said it. It is 7 years. He averaged 17 points, 8 boards, 2 blocks, a steal, shot 56 from the field, and was it over 72% from the free throw line. Not the greatest numbers, but I wanted someone with a defensive mind like that, who was 3-time defensive on the all defensive first team and 3-time All-Star. I mean, I already have enough offense with Nash, Barkley, Stat, and whatnot. I wanted someone else to and Kevin Johnson. I wanted someone else who could fill in and play both center and power forward, because you can't put Barkley. I know Draymond does it for spurts. Barkley could play for spurts, but he's only 6'6". I can't play him at center. I only have one guy who could actually play center in Amare Stoudemire.
What about no Tom Chambers?
I mean, yeah, but if we're going by numbers, I was very close to going Tom Chambers, but I like the better defense that Larry Nance brought. Tom Chambers was better on offense. He scored about 20 points, less rebounds, not as many blocks or steals. Never made any all-defensive teams. I needed someone to stabilize the bench when they come in. They don't need to be the first option. They don't need to score, even though the scoring wasn't too different. But, yeah, I like Nance there. He was more versatile.
I mean, he was All-Star 4 times, All-NBA team twice.
Nance was a 3-time All-Star, 3-time All-Defensive first.
I gotta see who this shooting guard, because I'm surprised Tom Chambers is not on your team.
Yeah, Lyle, you have any thoughts?
No. There's some passion behind that.
Thank you. Little bit of passion. Shooting guard. I know, Will. You're really nervous and you're really excited at the same time to see who my shooting guard is. But this was between two people. Whoever I leave off, I left the name out because it's between two people. It was either between a very solid, rock solid guy in Dan Majorly, who averaged 13.5 points, 5 boards, 3 assists, but he shot really well from the 3-point range. He made a couple All-Stars, 2-time all defensive first teams. But I had to leave him off because there's a guy who's playing currently for the Suns, who I'm going to also – I'm kind of cheating on this because he's only 23 years old, and I expect even more if he stays with the team. But I got to put Devin Booker there just a little bit more. Maybe not the defensive-minded guy that I wanted, but he's averaging 22 points, 5 assists, and he shoots really well from 3 at 35, over 35% and 45% from the field. And I'm just projecting a little bit. This guy's done all this at the age of 23. I can only see better things to come from him because he is one of the premier shooting guards in today's game.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, well, after you didn't put DeAndre Ayton at center, I'm over it anyway. So I think for a guy to get 70 in a game, whether or not they ran the score up, that's it's something that they can. I think good pick. What can you do? Joe Johnson was snubbed.
I was close not to take him, but both Barkley and Marion could play small forward, power forward, and he's only 23. I can only see him get better. So I gave him what he's done now was already really good, and what I think he's going to do continue going forward. You just got to give him the nod there. Will, you kind of shook your head. You agree with Booger?
I mean, as far as potential, yeah, I don't think he has done enough to be on the all-time team yet.
Okay. I mean, the Suns don't have the all-time roster that the Bucks have. They don't have 15 Hall of Famers just floating around.
That is true. I mean, like in 5 years, I could say, yeah, he definitely should have been on there. But, I mean, he could demand a trade next year, and then he wouldn't be on the team,
If you guys read my Suns article, I think he might, if they continue to be bad.
Right.
But,
exactly.
His numbers speak volumes of everyone else in that shooting guard role. I almost went with Walter Davis as well. He was another guy, another wing who averaged over 20 points. But another guy who he shot under 30% from three. And if I'm playing with other guys who can't shoot three besides Steve Nash, I need someone else who can make some stretch the floor out there. But
I mean, seeing your team play on the court would be amazing. I mean, you have a great team from 1 to 5 with the bench guys. Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna run Kareem Abdul-Jabbar off the court. Oscar Robinson's gonna need a ventilator after this. I think he's gonna be exhausted.
Amari Stoudemire stopping Kareem.
Yeah, we're gonna play not even 7 seconds or less, 2 seconds or less. We're just gonna run and gun if we have to. But that brings me to my last thing is the coach. It was a little difficult to pick the coach because there are two coaches. I really wanted to put Paul Westphal on this team because he was very successful for this franchise, whether it was coach or not. He has the highest winning percentage in the regular season, and he went 25-19 and made it to the championship in at the final, one of their 2 finals appearances when he was coach, and he had the Barkley and Kevin Johnson. But if we're playing like we mentioned earlier, Mike D'Antoni is very close because this team is pretty much his team, and then you add Charles Barkley and Devin Booker, Kevin Johnson. I'm probably going to have to throw in Mike D'Antoni in this day and age because he already knows how to play basketball in this day and age, and he likes no center. So look at the Rockets right now that they're doing pretty well without it. So I guess I'll give the edge to D'Antoni. But if this was in the 90s, it'd be Paul Westphal all day. But that brings us to the Chicago Bulls, what everybody's been waiting for. Who will Lyle put on the Bulls? And will someone supplant Michael Jordan? That's the question we've all been waiting for.
At shooting guard, they've just got an absolute a huge amount of players that could go in there over Michael Jordan. It was a toss-up with
I can imagine.
Him. So
I think he's overrated. So
they built this documentary. They don't build it about anyone else. Too much carry on. It's all hype. It's all hype. Yeah, probably tweeted. So this, I think I got a little a bit of a saving grace as well. I got looked after a bit with this one because if you're not watching The Last Dance, well, you don't like basketball. I think it is just a phenomenal series so far. Shout out to all those guys. I'm actually part of a basketball book club is what we call it. There's a couple of NBL guys in there and a couple of podcasters from down here. One of the guys that's in there has actually got featured in the credits of The Last Dance. He provided some stuff. I won't plug his podcast because he's already doing good enough. He's done a great job with that. This team, I think, when I was putting it together and I was sitting there going, I could just do the first three-peat, the second three-peat, and just a bit of a cop-out. But when you look into the Bulls, there was probably 3 real eras that they were relevant, I guess. And so that was their expansion, which was in the mid-'60s. So the early 70s was sort of an era where they were not bad. They had a lot of talent. And then there was the 90s dynasty, I guess. And then probably the late 2000s as well, where there was that run with Tom Thibodeau as well as the coach. So there's a mix in this, and as to whether or not they'd succeed today, probably not. Because analytics would just kill everything they do because mid-range is dead, basically. They should DeMar DeRozan and just persist with it. But, so that's probably what I've based it on. I mean, will they get flogged? Yeah, probably. But then again, you got Michael Jordan in there. Spoilers alert. But so you probably won't do too badly. Overall, I think he would have shot more threes if that had been part of the game back then. So I think I'll build the suspense and start with some honourable mentions. And there might be some controversial ones in there. So the first one was Chet Walker. So he played from 1969 through to 75. One of the first, they called him actual superstars of the Bulls. He won a championship in Philadelphia, then came across, spent his last 6 years in Chicago, and averaged with the Bulls 20.5 points, 6 rebounds, and shot 48% from the field. So he was in this mid-70s sort of power team. They made the playoffs every year that he was there, and he's 6th in all-time leading scorer for the franchise. So big name to leave off, but he just didn't make the cut. Another honourable mention was Norm Van Leer, who was again in that era, another guy that he averaged 12 points, 6.5 assists, 4.5 rebounds, great defender, all defensive first team 3 times, second team 5 times, all NBA second team in 73-74, and one of the other guys. He was a duo in that backcourt with another guy that I'm going to mention in a minute. Third all-time in leader in steals and assists, and 5 playoff appearances, 3 All-Star appearances. He's so to leave him off as an honourable mention, it was a bit difficult. It just shows the level of talent, I guess, that was on this team. And the third guy that was an honourable mention, and this is probably one that everyone that's watching The Last Dance is going to crack a sad about, is Dennis Rodman.
I knew you were going to say him. Everyone watching.
Top 7, yeah. So, I mean, everyone's just closed off now. They're like, no, he had Carmen Electra. He's in there straight away. So he did, even though he led the league in rebounding the whole time, he averaged about 15.5 rebounds throughout that journey. He didn't make it in because I think there's better players out there from different eras that actually surpassed him.
I'm going to approach him and put him as my 7th man over Larry Nance.
Okay, well, you have him then.
You have to check the rules if we can do that.
Right.
I mean, he was only there, I think, 4 years, so it just didn't get to the point where he fell into that all-time sort of era or team. And, I mean, anyone can use the rebounds, but I'll make them up somewhere else with some other guys that have got in there. So, with that being said, I'll go to my number 7 player, and this is a guy that featured in the Last Dance from the 90s era, and it is Horace Grant. So, big centre, big power forward. What was he? 6'10", 215 pounds. Big unit. Was part of the, I think, first 3, championships, and then he was off to Orlando. You see in the Last Dance, he got thrown under the bus a bit as a guy that snitched, but to Sam, what was his name? Sam Smith, who released the Jordan rules. They're all, a lot of people have jumped to his defense, but otherwise, it was sort of would have been an absolute legend had there not have been 2 absolute legends in that team already, being 2 other guys that are in my starting 5. Spoilers alert. So in his 7 seasons at Chicago, he what did he do? He averaged 53% from the field. He had points, 12.6, 2.7, 8.6. I can't read this thing. Hang on. 8.6 rebounds and over a steal a game, over a block a game, about 1 turnover and 2.4 assists. So for a center, you're pretty happy with that and that production when really you're probably the fifth option on the court when you're out there. But held down that centre. Charles Oakley was ahead of him. All of a sudden, he gets traded out from very early on, and Horace Grant jumped in there and took that starting centre spot. So he made it to the 7th spot. Any thoughts on Horace not making the top 5 at all, or getting in there at all over Rodman?
Rodman's hard, but yeah, Horace Grant's one of the best guys that they had. I know I was looking at it before. He was top 5 in offensive rating for his career, or in the Bulls' career, at the amount of time he played in it. Top 10 in value over replacement player. Top 10 in a lot of things. And Horace Grant was one of the integral parts to that first three-peat.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And that's why I think he had to be in there. I think that the Bulls, this is controversial. I think the Bulls would have been pretty good even without Rodman. But I think without Horace Grant, they would have been in a bit of strife.
So it's controversial.
That is controversial. I think you're devaluing Rodman a little bit.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to call Rodman and count seconds getting here.
It's his mates that I'm worried about. It's not. He's got some pretty high profile friends that I don't really want to cross.
Right. But I'm good with Horace Grant at 7. I'm good with that. He's kind of like the Draymond of his time, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. That's good comparison. I mean, what did he do? He could shoot jump shots. All-Star game 1994. All defensive second team 93 to 96. He was a role player that I think it was important. He wasn't a superstar, although he probably could have been. I think later on in his career he became that dominant presence. But great defender. Yeah. I think he makes the 7th, and he's the sort of bloke that you could bring in if you just need to go and get a flagrant foul. Or he's a hard nut, which I liked. I mean, Rodman was as well, but he jumped in there. So my 6th man was. This was hard because he plays a similar position to a guy that you just can't leave out, or 2 guys that you couldn't leave out. So the original Bull. It was the number 1 draft pick in the expansion draft for the Chicago Bulls 1966, and it was Jerry Sloan. So known mostly for his coaching career, I suppose, with the Jazz. He was there 27 or so years. I think he held the record until Pop passed him, perhaps, or maybe he's still there. But, yeah, so he's jumped in as my 6th man. They had him. He's the first guy who got his jersey retired up in in Chicago. He was an absolute gun. There from 66 to 76, 10 years, 14.7 points, 7.7 rebounds as a small forward shooting guard. I've got him as the wing to come in. 2.2 steals a game. He was averaging 7 rebounds. That's as a guard. You don't see that in the modern game very often. So I thought he's got to be in there. You can make up that rebounding that Rodman lost by bringing in Jerry Sloan and getting those. 2-time All-Star, 8 straight playoff appearances, all defensive first team, 4 times, 2 times on the second team. Yeah, beast. So Sloan's in there as my 6th man. He was in that original era where they were fairly successful, and that was probably. I mean, 6'5", 195. He was a gun. Having a look at his stats, I didn't even know he played there. I didn't know much about that era, the early 60s, until you look into it and you go, this guy was actually phenomenal. He didn't ever average more than 16 points a game, but I think his defensive presence was what really. They didn't even count steals and blocks for 8 of his 10 years in the league. So you just really don't know how many he got. But very good, great player.
Yeah, solid pick.
Sounds good to me.
I'd rather have Rodman, but solid pick.
Haters to me, haters. So he's in there as my
backup wing.
Yeah, as my backup wing. He'd come in, play a bit of. He'd probably handle the ball a bit as well. I don't know. I didn't watch any of his highlights. I don't know if you can even get it. But, was pretty handy from all reports. I'm going to go to my power forward now, the one that usurped Dennis Rodman. And that was a guy from the same era as Jerry Sloan and Norm Van Leer, Chet Walker. They're all around that same era. They're a very successful team. Besides actually winning championships, they were moderately successful. And that's Bob Love. So he played with the Bulls from, when was it? 1968 to 1976. Averaged 19.4 points, 6.3 rebounds, 1.6 assists. He was traded to the Bulls in the 68-69 season and was one of the first scoring power forwards from all reports. He was the size of a 4, but he had the speed of a shooting guard, is what they say. So 2 all-defensive second teams, 3-time All-Star. He led the Bulls to consecutive Western Conference Finals, 74-75. They got swept by the Bucks in one of them and then lost in Game 7 to the Warriors. It was unfortunate. 2 great centers beat them. Third in all-time scoring, second in free throws, 8th in rebounds, and he's one of the 4 players with his jerseys retired. So I thought, well, get him in there. One of the greats. Pretty awesome. I thought he'd get in there and, a bit of scoring punch. The original stat, I guess, or Charles Barkley, sort of player. So, I thought he would get in there. 6'8", 215. Big unit.
All right. Yeah. Interesting.
Overruled. So I thought he was in there just due to the accolades that he had. I mean, it wasn't championships, but, Rodman was third string for that. So
I think Rodman and Kukoc and Artis Gilmore have some beef with you, but interesting.
Well, I mean, if we go to center, that is the namesake Artis Gilmore. So he's
okay. He doesn't have beef with you anymore.
Spoilers. We'll jump onto him. 7'2", 240. Yeah, big unit. So he was with the Bulls from. Computer is freezing. Oh gosh, why is that hurting?
76 to 82.
Yeah, that's him. Computer was freezing. That's all right. Yeah, and then 87, 88. So he's in there for a little while. He is the NBA record for career field goal percentage. He was all defensive second team. He 4 All-Stars, all-time leader in blocks for the Bulls, 5th in rebounds, 7th in points, 2011 Hall of Fame. Fantastic player, massive unit, and deserves that spot. I think, really good. He was pretty decent.
Definitely.
Definitely one of
I mean, other centers, Joakim Noah, honorable mention. Luke Longley, another Aussie. Get him in there. But, I think Artis Gilmore takes the cake with that as the starting center. We had a point guard. I'm going to leave the ones we know that are going to be in there to the last because we can discuss that. It's not going to be any. We'll leave point guard. Who do we want to hear next? Point guard, shooting guard, small forward. You probably
Point guard.
All right, point guard. So
this is actually close, but I mean, kind of.
I
Not
went
really.
with a guy that was the youngest MVP in NBA history, Derrick Rose, Chicago faithful, the only guy that made it into my top 7 from this sort of new era. I started watching basketball right when this guy sort of came in as well, awesome sort of player. I remember watching him and just saying this guy is an absolute star, phenomenal. And then his knee blew out. Derrick Rose. The CBA came in. There's a Derrick Rose rule that was brought in for guys that basically were so successful coming off their rookie deal. So if you won an MVP or you made it all NBA team twice, you could basically get paid more. You'd be a designated franchise player, I guess. I think it was the name that they were calling it. Guys, that was a reason that when the Celtics had Kyrie Irving, they couldn't trade for Anthony Davis because they were on the same rookie extension, and you're only allowed one per team. So, yeah, fun fact for you. So he was so successful so early on that they had to write that rule in to be able to pay him more, so that because he was just so much better than other 22-year-olds at that time. So he got in there as MVP. What did he average? He was only there. Well, he was there 7 years. Didn't play 2012-13 because the ACL injury. There's so much controversy about whether or not he should have been in with a minute to go. But hindsight's 2020. Those first 4 years were just on another level. Averaged points. Chicago tenure was 19.7 points, which is unfair because you get those years where he was down a little bit. But he had a year where he was 25 points, over 20 for 3 of them, then did his knee, still in that 15. Athletic beast. He's now brought his career back a bit. He's recovered that, and he's only 28 or something now. That's it feels like an old man, like he's been around forever. But yeah, he was born in '88, so he's 31 now. So what could have been? I know Thibodeau came out the other day and said they would have won a championship had he not got injured, and that team was pretty stacked. It was a good team.
Yeah. I think the only other guy, I mean, he won an MVP, so he's got to be there. But the guy who was close to me as the second, and surprised he didn't make it on the bench, was what I think is who is the most successful three-point shooter of all time, and Steve Kerr, a 5-time NBA champ for the Bulls. And he shot 47.9% from the three-point line in his Bulls tenure. But yeah, I mean, Derrick Rose was an MVP, so it's very hard to not put him up there.
Yeah, for me, I think because I was looking at it all, and the fact that they put a rule in about him, it was called the Derrick Rose rule. I was like, he was just so good so early, so I got him in there. Such a shame. It was one of those guys that it was what if, and I think, real shame.
Steve Kerr was on the bench a lot of those years too, so he was a great 3-point shooter, but I don't know if he could top Derrick Rose on that one.
No, he would be a great off the bench, though.
Yeah, for sure. You got to weigh up as well. Did Steve Kerr get so many open looks because he had Jordan, Pip, and Rodman that everyone ran to? So, I mean, that doesn't discount what he did. He was still phenomenal. But,
I love little BJ Armstrong, too. He's a great 3-point shooter, too.
Yeah, he was good. Don't forget Kirk Heinrich.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, actually, he's quite up there with all of the Bulls' all-time stats in leader because he was there for so long.
Ben Gordon.
Ben Gordon. Yeah, Tyrus Thomas.
He goes the number.
He was. What was I going to say? With BJ Armstrong, if you actually have a look on the footage of the shot, are you guys up to date with The Last Dance?
No, I haven't watched the last. I watched the first 2, and then I decided I want to stream them.
All right,
I'll binge watch them.
Yeah,
I'm trying to hold them to binge watch them.
Yeah. Not a lot of people doing that, but in this basketball club we're talking about, I'll just jump on that quickly. If you have a look at the shot that Paxton made, open 3-pointer, real famous shot back in 90. I think it was 94, something like that. BJ Armstrong is actually lying on the ground for no reason, like in this game winner. So if he had missed this shot, there was about 8 seconds left. He hits this massive 3. If he misses it, the rebound lands on BJ Armstrong. And BJ Armstrong lying on the ground for like no reason other than it's just lying down. So weird footage, and you don't notice it watching it back. It's over in the far corner if you get a chance. I'll find the link. I'll put it up. But
I'm excited. I can't wait to finish this.
It's really, really funny to see when you know it's there. But anyway, that's me digressing. That's the point guard Rose. Small forward was the great Scottie Pippen, notoriously underpaid from all reports.
Well, dang.
He's there. He was well, I mean, for a guy that averaged 49 minutes a game under Tom Thibodeau, you know, he was running the water in the timeouts. He was doing everything. You know, he was hammered. But, another guy that was an absolute gun. Criticised late in his career for the Lakers contract law, dang. But if they're going to pay you, why wouldn't you?
Right.
I've put Scottie Pippen in at small forward. One of the original point forwards. Phenomenal player. What was he? 6'8", 210. His voice, I would love to have it on my GPS. I reckon it's just soothing. That Arkansas drawl, he's in there. I reckon his voice is just phenomenal. Listening to him on this show, he was there for from '88 to the '98 season. He was famous for that 7-year, $18 million contract, which everyone was kicking up a stink about. Oh, he was kicking up a stink about. What did he average? His Chicago averages 17.7 points. He was rebounds of 6.7. He had steals 0.9, 2.1 steals, just short of a one block a game, and that 5.3 assists. He was there, 6 championships. Absolute core piece of that Bulls dynasty. I mean, you can't go past him, surely, at small forward.
Yeah.
Definitely one of the greatest defensive wings in NBA history. Extremely vital piece to. Jordan said he couldn't have won those championships without Pippen, so got to have him on the list.
They say in the 94-95 season, he led the Bulls in scoring, assists, rebounds, blocks, and steal, which was at the time the second player in NBA history to do that. 7 All-Star teams, 8 All-Defensive First teams, 3 All-NBA First teams, 6 championships. You know, next level.
It wasn't too bad in his last run with the Blazers either, with the jail Blazers when they got to the conference finals.
Absolutely, shout out to the Blazers. For sure. And there was I saw I don't know if Hoopball put it up. Someone put it up on the internet that he wanted to come back and sign with a contender at 41 years old and play with the Cavs in 2009, trying to win another chip. And you're a bit like, well, put him in. Back up.
Sign him. Right.
I think he might go down in history as one of the biggest what ifs, because he pretty much played his whole prime with Michael Jordan. And, he kind of gets overlooked a lot. I wonder if he would have went to his own team where he could have been the star, how great he would have been, or how less impactful he would have been. You just never know.
Yeah.
I think he's fine with 6 NBA championships instead of 27 points per game like Monte Ellis and six playoffs games.
Well, I mean, I say that because a lot of times he's made comments in the past where he seems like, he's kind of jealous of Jordan or regrets playing with Jordan for so long. Now he seems, fine with it. But at times he's felt, overshadowed.
He does get overlooked, which is, I guess you can see it. But, I mean, he's still one of the top 50 greatest players ever. I mean, what you're saying, if he did do that, he'd probably jump up even higher, maybe top 25.
Right.
So I could see that.
We'll never know.
The what ifs. You're right.
Absolutely. So that leaves me with my shooting guard, his Airness himself, arguably the greatest of all time.
Jimmy Butler.
It is. Jimmy Butler. Yeah, no, it's Ben Gordon. It's Michael Jordan. So 84 to 93, he was there. 95 to 98, went and played a bit of minor league baseball. Had to go and save the world from the Monstars. Loves his golf, loves his gambling. He was all over it. So I think one of the funniest things they talked about was when he was drafted. He was drafted number 3, and they actually apologized. The GM apologized to Chicago and said, "I'm sorry, there was no centers available." and there's some great clips in The Last Dance, the first episode, and they talk about who was it? It was there was a few guys that come out. They said, "Well, he's only 6'6". You know, if he was 7 foot, he'd be the best player, but he's only 6'6". So how could he dominate this league?" And you're like, "Well, lucky you. You're going to find out." So phenomenal player, elite scorer, elite defender, 9-time All-Defensive Team, won Defensive Player of the Year award. He won MVP and Defensive Player in the same year. All-time leader in points for the Bulls, rebounds, assists, steals, 5 MVPs, 6 final MVPs, 14 All-Star selections. Would they have won 8 straight if he hadn't retired? Perhaps, probably. Career averages, Bulls career averages, 31.5 points, 5.4 assists, 6.3 rebounds. You're having a look at some of these season scoring. He was there. He averaged over 35 one year, 37 another year. Next level.
Just imagine him in the league now. He'd be scoring in the 40s a game.
Oh, unbelievable. Yeah. If you have a look at the scores of the actual entire team scores for the games, they're only scoring between 70 and 80 a game, and he's dropping 50 of them, Unbelievable. Just
no surprise there.
No, I mean, who else are you going to put in there? So phenomenal. Honestly, that's why I thought it was a bit of a cop out that I got these guys, because it was pretty easy for a couple of the guys. Controversial for a couple, but very, very easy. And I think they would towel up some teams today. Absolutely. I think they'd be right up there in the East, especially.
Yeah. I think my Phoenix Suns are no controversy whatsoever where I picked. I think you missed Bob Dandridge. I don't know about Glenn and Lyle. Dennis, how are you gonna miss Dennis Rodman? Are you gonna? I'm gonna call Dennis right after the show. I have his number. We talk, and I gotta let him know. Him and maybe Steve Kerr up the bench, but that's respectable.
Well,
Dennis,
on Saturday nights, he's welcome to join me on Saturday night. I'll jump over there. I have no issues with that as long as he shouts it out beforehand. Straight on there, have no issues, and we can duke it out.
That's funny.
We might, me and Santino might have to veto to get Dennis Rodman on the team. We're gonna have to ask Steve about that.
Yeah, we're gonna have to ask our guy Steve, the commissioner of all things podcast on Hoopball over here. We're gonna see if we could veto your trade. As partial owners, me and Will do not accept this. We're gonna really get on his back if he doesn't put Dennis Rodman in there.
No, he's done.
Or are we just gonna change the rules completely and make it 8 players for each team? So one of the two is gonna happen.
Yeah, well, we're expanding the bench to 15. All those guys I mentioned, they're all in. So they're all getting in there, and they'll all get minutes. I think Jordan's still going to average 37.
And don't forget that you left Tom Chambers off, Santino. Don't try to call us both out.
I had to. I needed a defender. I was going to put him there, but I didn't. Again, so to recap, Suns were great. Dennis Rodman's upset. Will had an easy Bucks team and still messed it up. It was great. This was fun. I had fun doing this. Hope you guys did as well. Hope the listeners did as well. As always, when you're joined, you can put in comments. We'll try and get to them. Give us a shout out on. You can follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter names are down there below. I'm trying to get in my camera. Missing. Missing. Look at Hoopball. We have some content coming out. I know it's slow without any sports going on, but we're still trying to provide out there. And we mentioned him, Steve. He's the guy that's running all the behind the scenes on this stuff. We're doing these team breakdowns. We've been doing draft breakdowns and redrafting lately. We're trying to do all-time teams now. Next week is a big surprise. It's coming, an expansion draft type of podcast. That's all I'll leave it to. I'll let them market it, but it's going to be must-see pod TV. I don't know how to say that. Must-see pod D, I guess. It's an expansion draft. We have you guys met him, Doug. He knows all about this, and it's something that he's actually trying to do with the NBA, and he will tell you all about this next Wednesday. It's going to be awesome, so tune in for that. And I had a great time. As always, Will, pleasure having you on. And Lyle, thank you for gracing us on this Thursday.
Wouldn't miss it.
We'll be back.
Tune into the Pelicans podcast as well. I've taken that over, so that's my other side project. You talked about Steve. He's going to be on there coming up. I've got an interview with him tomorrow to get him to talk about his article he wrote that you guys have been plugging. There's heaps going on there. So there's still stuff going on at Hoopball. Don't forget, we're still working away. There's still stuff going on.
Awesome. And
and next week we'll be doing this again with 3 more teams, probably, right?
Yeah, hopefully we find some better teams. Well, I find some better teams.
Get some contenders next time.
Right. But that Pelicans podcast sounds awesome. And also Lyle does Saturday Night Lyle. It's getting me all tongue-tied saying it.
Over on the Facebook page, Hoopball Facebook page, you've got to go and like and have a look on that. Talk all things NBA. It's great fun. Santino's been on there before. I've had Steve on there. Will, I'll have to get you on there. It's great fun. So it is. Let's talk a bit of hoops. It's my Sunday morning, so usually I look a little bit dusty, but we'll see how we go. This quarantine has been a lot easier to get up for it.
Yeah. Me and Will are mainly those week guys, Wednesday, Thursdays, Tuesday. But yeah, this was fun, and we'll look forward to seeing you guys again next week. And Lyle will see you again this weekend.
Awesome.
So everyone, thank you for joining, and have a good night, guys.
Good night.
See you guys.